What's going on, everybody? It is David here. I have a special guest with me today, host, community activist. Would you say community activist? Okay. Marquise with me today. How's it going, Marquise?
I'm chilling. How you doing?
I'm very good. So welcome to the RDG Soul Speak audio and visual podcast, where we speak from our souls about community, solutions, people, and the whys. So Marquise, one of the things that I like most about you, one of the things that I admire, and one of the things that have gotten you and I into a lot of good conversations is that you are unapologetically Black.
Yes.
And even more so, you are young, unapologetically Black in Reading, PA. So what is that like for you?
I think it kind of got like a new meaning once I left Reading and then went to college and was forced to reckon with my identity, and then coming back and just realized like, oh, where is the Black people in the city of Reading? Where are they? And that was a question I had always asked, and I had wondered, like, why aren't we more prominent in the city? We do make about 12% inside of Reading, PA. So I was just like,
is that it? Just 12?
We're just 12%. Yep. And it is wild to think about that. 14% in Berks County, 12% in the city.
Okay. Do you know if it was different before you went to college?
Well, I didn't recognize race as much. I just assumed everybody was poor, Black, and brown, and we were all in this together. So I was just like, all right, well, we're all
it is like that when you go away to college, especially if you go away to a predominantly white college and you come back.
That's what I did.
Yes.
Right in central Pennsylvania.
You went to Susquehanna?
Susquehanna, yep.
Nice. So what was that like? Well, I'm sure there was a big culture shock there.
Yeah, huge culture shock. I realized a bunch of older white people didn't know how to do their own laundry. And I was like, wait, what? I was shook. So when my
you mean college students?
College students. Where I was just like, y'all don't do your own laundry? They're like, I'm bringing my mom here. But I think more so was just I was so used to blending in with everybody because my friend group from home were pretty diverse. And so getting there where it wasn't just like, oh, it's Marquise. Oh, it's Marquise, the Black guy. So Black was always like added to my descriptor at this point. Okay. And I had wondered, like, what was like, no shit, I'm Black. Like, no crap, I'm Black. Like, what's going on? And so that kind of started to bother me a little bit more. And so my first year, I was just happy I got to college. I made it. I was the only one in my family, whatever, cool.
Same.
But then it was like my second year in college and I was interning. No, that was my summer. Yeah, because I had studied abroad in the Czech Republic.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I studied theater and history out there my freshman year of college.
Awesome.
And that's the first time where I had like this almost like an outer body experience where I had saw how the Czech people had treated the Romani children, and that's what they call like the gypsies and stuff out there. Okay. And so these are all the brown kids in Brno. And I was like, this is weirdly familiar. I don't know why this feeling's familiar. And I just remember like tearing up as I was watching these guys. I was like, these are so nice. Like, these kids are nice. But they had like a survey out, and they said 97% of the Czech people would willingly not live next to a Romani person because they devalued the area. They did all the. They just had this. They were criminalized. And I was like, that's weirdly familiar. And I didn't like fully articulate like the Blackness and the kind of feeling I was feeling. And so I got back, and that summer I was interning out in Susquehanna, working for CASA as their. It's like it's a nonprofit that advocates for kids in the foster system. And I was leaving the bank at Susquehanna. I was like in a suit and tie and everything. And the cop was right across the street and had whoop, whoop, right across. And it came over. And I was like, what the heck just happened? So it didn't, in that moment, I had to reckon. I was like, it doesn't matter how dapped up I am, how dapper I am. I'm still Black at the end of the day. Okay. Yeah, so that's one of my first inclinations of that, and I had to kind of reckon and was like, I need to be around my people more and try to figure out what that space was and that feeling was. So that was like that process. Okay.
And how do you think that experience or those experiences, how do they play into the work that you do now and just the way that you carry yourself, the T-shirt that you're wearing, all of these different things? How does it play into that?
I got tired. Now. Yeah, I got tired of code switching. I got tired of playing up this character that made everybody else feel safe. I was always like the happy Black guy, and everybody was comfortable saying whatever around me, and I was uncomfortable with them. Okay. And so I decided to just stop having to worry about everybody else and worry about myself and my people, because I recognized that we were all going through the same thing. So when I got back to the city, I wanted to have a voice that spoke to our particular experience in the world, in the nation, in our city, and wanted to bring on more Black people and start amplifying our voice, because I noticed like again, I asked that question, where are all the
Where
black
are the
people
black
at?
people? Okay.
And so once we started developing this space with Dear Reading, which was like a fun thing off of Dear White People that John came up with.
Okay. John Zabala.
John Zabala, yeah.
What's up, John?
Yes, go John. And so right after.
So that's how Dear Reading came about.
Yeah. So so that came about December. Was like the first inclination of it, where I was just like, John, I want to do this thing. Let's do this thing because I want you on this project with me.
Okay. And that was December 2018?
Yes.
So it hasn't even been what year are we in now?
So, So for season 2, it started we fully went on season 2 with the rebrand and it being much more black focused.
Okay.
On June 25th. So that'll be our official 1 year of it being like a consistent.
That's also my dad's birthday, but more importantly, sorry, Dad, that's the day when Michael Jackson died.
Yeah.
So are we gonna do something special about that for that?
Yeah, something in the works. We're planning something.
Nice. So a question first, congratulations on all the success of Dear Reading. It's been it's been really cool to see you guys do that, and especially to see you. How old are you? 25?
23.
More than 10 years. Not that old. More than 10 years younger than me, and I'm always so impressed by all of the young people, especially here in the city, who are doing things that I was not even thinking about. I was thinking about doing them, but I was in college, just happy to be in college.
Right.
Just kind of doing the minimum, also doing well, but kind of doing the minimum. But so I always applaud women and men that are 23, 24, 25 that are really into their passion now, pursuing their passion while in college and stuff like that. A question that I have, this is something I've been wanting to ask, and I feel like I can kind of put you on the spot and play devil's advocate a little bit. You look nervous. Now, now you said that the name came from Dear White People, which I didn't know.
Yes.
And Dear Reading is almost like a call to Reading, like a letter to Reading, which I love, and I feel like that's how it's received as well. But do you think like there needs to be more Latino representation on a show called Dear Reading in Reading, Pennsylvania, with such a large Latino population?
I think I had always said that's probably one of my biggest critiques of the own show, because of being called Dear Reading, but because of it being based off of Dear White People, that's a very black perspective, telling our story, and this is it's more for us and for black people, because that's the play off of it, because Dear White People is black issues being addressed on a big platform kind of thing like that that we go through. But also at the same time, my philosophy has always been, once you help particularly like the black woman and more particular the black trans woman, we can talk to those issues, everybody else gets helped inherently because of the position that we're in as black people within America. And so at the end of the day, though there should be more representation, we have representation behind the scenes, and then we always bring on a guest to come in. So it might not always be a black person, it's a Latino person. We had a couple white people on. And so trying to get more of that out there, but the crux of the show is definitely going to be black focused, and it's to speak to a demographic that's a minority that's going ignored within the city. Okay. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't know that you yourself are Latino as well. Yeah, half Puerto Rican. There we go. So and that's another story in itself, because I think there's sometimes an erasure of, if you are more black presenting, then this idea of being Latino doesn't really exist. And so that's why this idea of Afro-Latino has been like really pushed, is because more times than not, most Afro-Latinos that are played as black roles are just black roles. They're not necessarily like Afro-Latino roles. You're not going to see that until you got Miles Morales in Spider-Man, who's very much so black and Puerto Rican. Gotcha. Is that an ideology that you get behind, like the Afro-Latino ideal, the word? I wholeheartedly believe so, because normally, like, when you think of Latino in your mind, your default person might be like J-Lo Latino, not like Amara La Negra, not necessarily Carlton from The Fresh Prince. He's not like your or Latino. Ashley, I think she was Latina as well. And so it's just like, these characters are there, these people are all here, they've had history within the civil rights movement, but because you have that added layer of being darker skinned, then it's almost erased. And so the Afro-Latino movement is to kind of show, like, yes, we express our Africanness a little bit more, Afro roots, but we are still here. But because of being in America, it's complicated, because once you see black, you're just black. Okay.
And just a little bit more about this. Do you feel you spoke about making sure that you're comfortable as opposed to looking out for other people's comfort before your own. Do you feel like it's possible to be unapologetically Black and also make sure other people are comfortable? Is it possible to do both of those things at the same time, or is one exclusive of the other?
No, because I think you should be comfortable with me expressing my Blackness, how much it is. If it's making you uncomfortable, that's something you have to reconcile within yourself. That's not a me issue.
Message. And how do people go about reconciling that within themselves? Because I think that's part of the issue. I think there are a lot of non-Black people, white people, and in the city of Reading, and I think we kind of, I saw it more so around this time, around the mayoral campaign and things like that. How does one get to a place where they're not uncomfortable with your Blackness, or mine or anybody's?
Yeah, so I think that's a lot of unlearning. So if you try to ignore the fact that I'm a Black person within the city, you're doing a detriment. If you're not acknowledging your own race, and if we're not to the point yet where we live in an equitable area at all, and so if you cannot acknowledge that race is a very real thing that plays into our everyday lives, you're doing a disservice to us. So I think a lot of it is unlearning, and that's what people have to start with. You have to acknowledge that you have something within yourself. For me, I always say, like, I have to unlearn everything my pop-up told me about. Here's game on how to get the woman. Here's this, how to do this. Here's how to do
that
this.
Toxic masculinity.
I have to unlearn my sexist behavior, my misogyny, and potentially like anti-Blackness that I may have internalized by keeping up certain appearances. So for me, I'm just like, I'm always unlearning, like, all right, how am I taking up this space if a woman's in the room? Is she feeling threatened? Is it feeling this? Is it feeling this? How does she have to survive within this space?
Yeah.
And so for me,
recognizing your privilege as a man.
Yes. And I think that's what people have to start recognizing. So for me, I understand as a Black person, this is how people are going to receive me. And so I have to always be on go all the time. Like, all right, if there's a cishet white man in the room, then that's going to be one thing. If there's a woman in the room, how's she going to react to me? How's these people? So I have to know everybody else's move, but that's out of survival at the same time. So I can be a lot more intentional with how I'm taking up space, but also making sure I'm making space for other people to speak, you know?
Gotcha. So it sounds like learning and unlearning.
Correct.
I think that's the takeaway for this portion of the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. We got Marquise. This is the RDG Soul Speak audio and visual podcast. We are coming back with part 2. We're just getting started. Thanks for tuning in.